Chapter 54, Crushed by Power. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. The Last Punch. Shui Wenxin's eyes were gleaming slightly and his black hair was flowing in the genuine chi shuttling in his hair. Even his thin body looked much stronger. If looked closely, one would be able to notice that his arms were covered with a metallic sheen as if he had two iron arms. Martial technique of lower class of spiritual, Vajra Fist. Zhang Yuochen was shocked for a second. Soon after he discovered it was the martial technique of Shui Wenxin. Haha. That's right. It is the Vajra Fist. Shui Wenxin laughed. The Vajra Fist was a common fist technique of martial arts in the spiritual stage. It was popular that the fist booklet could be found in many commanderies. However, no matter how popular and common the Vajra Fist was, it was a martial technique of the spiritual stage which was classified as one of the supreme techniques. Only the commandery prince's mansion, the suzerain, and the large-scale family could record it. It was as difficult as to climb up to the sky for an ordinary warrior to practice the Vajra Fist. Shui Wenxin just happened to learn the Flaming King Kong, which was one of fist technique out of 18 Vajra Fists. By demonstrating the fist technique, he had broken out the strength of 78 bulls that even the first of the yellow board couldn't do it. In other words, once he unleashed the Vajra Fist, he would be capable of being the first of the yellow board. A female warrior in her 30 from the yellow board said, Shui Wenxin has practiced one of the techniques of Vajra Fist unexpectedly. The black bell, the first of the yellow board, is no match for him if he uses this move. A warrior of the yellow board who had been defeated by Zhang Yuochen mentioned, Shui Wenxin is just a little weaker than the black bell before practicing the martial technique of spiritual stage. The black bell can only defeat him by using the uncertain sword technique of the low class of spiritual. As for now, he has cultivated the Vajra Fist with a more powerful force and thus it is not difficult for him to win over the black bell. If he can defeat the 9th prince, he will become the first of the yellow board after this fight. A young girl asked, if the 9th prince defeats Shui Wenxin, does that mean he will be the first? An old man standing next to her giggled and said, the 9th prince will not win. Shui Wenxin uses the martial technique of spiritual stages which means he is confident enough to win the fight. The 9th prince is obviously weaker than Shui Wenxin. I guess Le needn't fight against him. Lin Ningshan thought with disappointment. If Zhang Yuochen fought against Le, the defeat would be more than losing the fight. Instead, he would be killed. Lin Ningshan hated Zhang Yuochen especially when she saw he was in the spotlight and worshipped by others. She wanted him to die in front of her. She didn't even know why she hated him so much. Flaming King Kong. Shui Wenxin punched his two fists with enough power. His genuine chi was burning and turned into two iron flame fists. At the same time, he broke out the strength of 78 bulls. Shui Wenxin could have repulsed hundreds of warrior only by his momentum at a war. However, rather than retreated, Zhang Yuochen rushed out like a brute elephant. He activated the power of his muscle and bones and transported it to his arms. Elephant galloping. He unleashed one palm and broke out the strength of 88 bulls. The outcome was obvious. As long as his fists met with Zhang Yuochen's palms, Shui Wenxin flew out and fell on the ground 10 meters away. He almost fell off the Colosseum. Yet, Zhang Yuochen stood in the center of the Colosseum steadily and slowly retracted his palms. It was quite a crush of power. Having looked at his fists and Zhang Yuochen, Shui Wenxin sighed and said, your cultivation is indeed beyond mine. Such a talented warrior. From now on, you're the first of the yellow board. With your talent, I'm sure you will break through the Black Realm very soon. I guess you won't bother with being the first at all. Haha. After a long sigh, Shui Wenxin left the Colosseum and gave in with much desolation. Only himself knew how massive the gap was compared to Zhang Yuochen. He must have been badly injured if Zhang Yuochen hadn't taken back some of the power in the last minute. Zhang Yuochen's power was so mighty that beyond everyone's imagination. Like Shui Wenxin said, Zhang Yuochen was not interested in being the first. Instead, he aimed at the 1 million silver coins reward. After all, the yellow board just recorded warriors from the Yunwu commandery featuring small influence. Yet, all warriors would fight for the ranking of the profound board, as the reward was at a much higher level. Of course, Zhang Yuochen's goal was too high. If the other young warriors could win the first place of the yellow board, they would immediately become the hotspot in the commandery and get much adoration from young girls. Le, the deadly swordsman at the age of 15, finally got on the Colosseum with the discussion of the crowd. He was the 9th opponent of Zhang Yuochen. Their warriors who were watching this felt more expectant. It was known that Le had killed 10 warriors with one single attack in the last 10 battles. None knew how strong he was. On the other hand, Zhang Yuochen had never lost as well. He even defeated Shui Wenxin. Both of them were outstanding young warriors. Who would be more powerful? That's interesting. Both of them are good sword master of martial arts as well as unfathomable. I wonder who will win the fight. That's hard to say. After all, the deadly swordsman had only displayed one attack so far. Maybe he is stronger than Shui Wenxin. There were more and more people placing bets. Zhang Yuochen, winner, pledge 1 for 3 times compensation. Zhang Yuochen, loser, pledge 1 for 2 times compensation. Le, winner, pledge 1 for 2 times compensation. Le, loser, pledge 10 for 1 times compensation. Tie, pledge 1 for 4 times compensation. Some bet Zhang Yuochen to win, some bet Le. Of course, some thought they would tie. The 9th commandery princess had confidence in Zhang Yuochen. Without any hesitation, she bet 10,000 silver coins, which were all of her savings, for Zhang Yuochen to win. On the Colosseum, the 2 young warriors stared at each other with 10 steps in between. Le held his sword, stood still with eyes wide opened like a sculpture. "You are indeed so strong," Zhang Yuochen responded and said, "It's great for you to reach such high level at your age. But there is a dead bug in your sword technique. Fighting against me will not only lose, you'll probably die. You'd better give in." Le's sword technique was indeed horrible. Even Zhang Yuochen had to fight at his best. Once he did that, he was unable to hold his hand. Either Le died or he died. Le looked towards Lin Ningshan, then turned to Zhang Yuochen with determination and said, "Who lives who die, we'll only know until we fight." Zhang Yuochen shook his head slightly and said, "You've practiced the self-destructive swordsmanship, a forbidden martial technique. You're not only killing people, but also hurting yourself. No doubt you can kill warriors of Yellow Board with one attack, but every attack is harmful to your body as well." The forbidden martial technique was a martial technique which was used at a certain cost of warriors' health. Took self-destructive swordsmanship as an example, every attack would consume user's own vitality. If Le used 10 times of sword technique continuously, he would end up killing himself. Of course, he had reached a high attainment in sword and far higher than his peers. As long as he didn't fight against warriors of the Yellow Board, he needn't demonstrate the self-destructive swordsmanship. The so-called forbidden martial technique was a horrible technique that not anyone could cultivate it. Le calmly said, "Since you know what I practice, you should know its strength. Nobody at the same realm can withstand one attack. Not long ago, I've killed a warrior of the mid-stage of the Black Realm with one attack." Zhang Yuochen chuckled and said, "I've told you that you have no chance to win if you fight against me because there is a dead flaw in your self-destructive swordsmanship. It's incomplete, isn't it?" Le calmly continued, "Do you want to destroy my will in this way?" Zhang Yuochen shook his head and answered, "Since you're not giving in, well, let me see how strong your self-destructive swordsmanship is." In fact, Zhang Yuochen didn't hate Le. Instead, he appreciated his sword technique. He thought he would become a super swordsman one day. He had never killed people not only in this lifetime but last. He was very reluctant to end the young man's life, so he said a little much. Zhang Yuochen also drew his flash-shining sword fighting against Le. 2 sword breath gave off and collided in the air. Seeing the 2 guys fight against each other on the Colosseum, Lin Ningshan felt so excited. It was the best ending that if Le could get Zhang Yuochen killed. Otherwise, the death of Le would also make her excited. A genius fought for her and finally was killed by another genius. Should not she be excited? That would be so wonderful. Self-destructive, Le murmured. He rushed to Zhang Yuochen and quickly stabbed him. Zhang Yuochen stepped out and rushed to Le as well.